last week you looked at triangles, right? And you calculated the unknown angle or the unknown side. All right, so let's have a look at the unit circle in more detail. It's got 4 quadrants. Does anyone know what a quadrant is? A quarter, very good. It's got 4 quadrants. The first quadrant is the one on the top right. So if you're not writing this down, or if it's not on your unit circle, you should be writing it down. Four quadrants. It has a radius of 1. The axis that we normally call the x-axis is called the cos axis. The axis that we normally call the y-axis is called the sine axis. Does anyone want to guess? Does anyone want to guess why we call them the cos and sine axis? If we have a line from the middle to the outside of the circle, it forms a shape with 3 sides called a triangle. Let's say this angle here is theta. Okay? If you look at the opposite over the hypotenuse, we have sine theta equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. What's the hypotenuse? 1. So the value opposite or the y value is always the sine value for the triangle. You can do the same thing with cos. So cos for this angle here, everyone remember what cos is? It's the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So it's the adjacent, whatever the x value is, over the hypotenuse. So if we look on the x-axis, that tells us the cos value for that angle. If we look on the y-axis, that tells us the sine value for that angle.
So this point here, angle is 90 degrees. So the x is cos 90, which is 0. And that's the x value on the x-axis. Sine 90 is 1, which is the y value on the y-axis. So the y-axis always tells you the sine value, and the x-axis always tells you the cos value. If we go back to this angle here, theta, the green one, looks about 45 degrees. We know that sine 45 degrees is approximately 0.7. So that's the relationship between 2 sides, 0.7. If you want an angle bigger than 90, that also gives us approximately 0.7. We can look into the second quadrant, so quadrant 2. So we don't know this angle, but we know on the y-axis it's going to give us the same value, 0.7. How do we figure this out? We know that if we go all the way around to the other side of the x-axis, that's 180 degrees. So it has to be less than 180 degrees, this unknown angle that also gives us 0.7. So it's somewhere between 90, 180. To do this, we simply go 180 minus that little theta in here. In this example, it's 45. So 180 minus 45 is 135. This is called the supplementary angle. The other angle that's not an acute angle, that gives us the same trigonometric value, the same sine value, but for a different angle. So this is where the unit circle comes in handy. Finding these other angles that gives us the same value. So we can do this for cos, we can do this for tan, to figure out the different supplementary angles. Now to get a bit more complicated, when you look at the unit circle, we have positive y and a positive x, but we also have a negative x and a negative y. So as you go around the circle, if you put in sine of an angle greater than 180, let's say 210, this is going to become a negative answer. When it gets into this quadrant, the y values are negative. So any angle that we put into sine between 180 and 360 is going to give us a negative answer. For cos, there's a negative x-axis here, so any angle between 90 and 270 that we put into cos, if we put in 135 in cos, we're going to get approximately negative 0.7. And that's because cos is on the x-axis. So if you want to test your skills, try using the table here. Try filling it out, seeing if you get the same answer here as on your calculator using the unit circle.